Oh,
All right.
shall I just give a sort of overview?
Or we can tell them who we are. Do they know who we are?
I hope so. I think most of them do. We're part of
Okay.
the Fibre Art Studio with Yuriko and Helen
Mhm.
and Barbara. And
That's correct.
this is not our first rodeo with this lovely Fibre family. So,
No, we love it.
yeah,
Absolutely love
yeah.
it.
So I feel like Yuriko is a little bit apprehensive. She seems to think that when she doesn't know what we're going to do, we must be up to no good.
She's
But
correct.
but really, I think when we were together on New Year's Eve this year, which was really fun, and just in starting to talk about what we were going to do this time around with everybody, it's really going to be very much, as Yuriko said, like a knit night where we're going to kind of chat about what we're doing. But it did kind of start because Roz gave me for Christmas. Let me see if I can just bring this down a little bit. Well, not a lot, but she gave me this lovely this lovely cowl. And it has a bit of a history. So I'm going to let Roz tell that story.
You know, some of you have a stash that probably dates back over 10, 15, 20 years ago. Well, anyway, back at early 2000s, Penny and I used to go down to Stitches in Santa Clara, and we had decided we would go every other year, which is like turning us loose in a yarn factory is never a good idea. So we would go down there, sit through some of the programs, and buy yarn. Well, the yarn that is made out of her cowl there was called pond scum. And I bought this cowl because of the name pond scum. It was just hysterical. And so
And it's
I,
my colors.
it
And
is
she
Penny's
bought it.
color.
Let's just be clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it for the name. Penny liked it because of the colors. So it became kind of a banter between us that when Penny would come down, that she would, in my yarn room, hunt out pond scum and hide it from me. And when she'd go to leave, I'd go through her suitcase to make sure that it had not been accidentally fallen into her suitcase and going back up to Canada. So for years, we joked back and forth about conscom. I would bring him up sometimes to visit her in Canada and then bring him back home. But one time, Penny came down to visit me, and she hid Ponscom and couldn't find him. He completely left the building with Elvis. So we had to contact and bring in cousin Janet, who snooped through everything and found where she had hid him. And then again, when they left that time, I went through her suitcase to make sure that it wasn't in there and looked around her car as well. So as a gift, I decided that it really became important that Pond Scum develop and become a knitted pattern event, and they really needed to go to Penny. That was his true home. So for Christmas in 2023, I knit the cowl and I took it up to Penny, and she absolutely remembered this yarn and just came uncorked. And so she checked my luggage to make sure I didn't take it home.
So that's kind of what started us on a conversation about the long history of pond scum and how it had taken, 15 years or so for pond scum to find a new life. And we began to think about how the things, mostly fiber related things that we had done in the past, were kind of bringing us forward and informing the work that we now do. And so we sort of thought, okay, pond scum's a theme. So, maybe we should both just go with that and see what we make of it. So I'm going to start screen sharing here. Okay, tell me, can everybody see the screen here?
Yes.
You can see the screen share. Okay, this is
Yes.
good. All right, here we go. So just to give you a close-up of pond scum so that you know which of the yarns in this lovely cowl we're talking about. This is pond scum. And now over to Roz.
Okay. So can you make it full screen, Pen?
Oh, I may have to go back out again to.
Oh,
How much of this? It's not a full screen? Okay, let's just.
No, you've got your tabs
Okay.
across the top and down the side.
All right, I'm just going to go back there for a second and see what I can do here and
Okay.
see if I can make this full screen. Okay. Okay, if this works, I'm improving.
All right.
Okay, so let's go back here and we'll just, what do we do here? We'll come back to here and we'll try again to share screen. Is that better?
Yes.
That is better. Okay.
Worth the training. Worth the training.
Very good. Worth the training. All right, there we go.
So pond scum, became one of those things about, what is the history, behind pond scum? Why does it do what it does? And how does it affect the environment? And does it live forever or does it die off and sink and come back? And is there good pond scum and is there bad pond scum? So this put us off onto an adventure to investigate. And what I took from this was the extreme colorways that pond scum can do, and decided to, hey, maybe I can get some yarn to do this too, which was kind of fun. The yellow, picking up the yellow within pond scum, and then the deep blue water that it sometimes sits in creates a beautiful contrast. And I thought it's kind of interesting. People do lovely, lovely dye jobs of, like scenic mountains and through the trees kind of thing. And I'm dyeing yarn because it makes pond scum look good. Go ahead, Pen. So with that, I'm like, okay, what other colorways? What about some of the animals that sit in the environment of pond scum? So on this, I was hoping, and I think I did, catch the eyes of the little frog and some of his skin, as well as the water he is in and around. And I thought, wow, that pull came together in a beautiful colorway. And it was a lot of fun to do, because I got to play with some different mixes and do different things outside my norm of what I usually do. Okay, Ben? And then there was this incredible kind of aqua pond scum that really caught my eyes. So I had some merino alpaca and I decided to give it a go in the dye bath as well, and was able to come up with a colorway that was close to it. And it was just reminiscent, because now when I look at this skein of yarn, I look at it and go, yep, has pond scum like qualities. I appreciate that. And then there's the one we classically think of when we talk about pond scum. It is that kind of classic green and yellow. And I thought, can I duplicate this? So after several rounds of testing and using things like sage leaf and ochre and other categories, I was able to come up with what we see traditionally for pond scum. And this is actually dyed on merino and cashmere. So it's kind of extra yummy. And it's a lot of fun because there's a lot of color variability in it, just like there is in the picture.
Okay, so just so that yeah, I can't resist having a little bit of a delve into the science of it all, as I always do. And this image here actually is a NASA image, and they have recently launched a huge project where they've got satellites up there that are monitoring algae, mainly in the oceans, as sort of a it's helpful in that it will be able to forecast when things like red tides are coming, so that it will be a useful tool in the health field, but it will also monitor how much algae growth is out there and what it's doing over time. And it's a very expensive project. So clearly it's believed to be very useful. And it's not surprising, because when I started to look, algae is actually the blue-green algae in particular is the oldest life form on Earth. And it's also, it's the basis for the oldest fossils that we have been able to access as well. So it's been here forever. And it's a really important thing because actually the algae is responsible on its own for 70% of oxygen production for the planet, which is absolutely huge. And and this is, I guess, because I've been looking at some of the stuff from the Webb telescope, and I'll be kind of going back to that a little bit later on. But there are more algae cells than there are stars in the universe on our planet. So it's really extremely important. And knowing its importance in photosynthesis, although there are some downsides, and some of the downsides are actually of our own making, because we farming in particular, putting fertilizer into lakes and ponds, provides just so much nutrient that the algae is able to grow and grow and grow and smother all of the things that are down there. So it can be a bit of a problem, but it also has many upsides, and it's been useful in looking at climate change over time, because it does sink. It sinks as it dies. It sinks to the bottom of the bodies of water that it's in, and it does two things. It does sequester carbon, and it also allows scientists to see, because it captures a lot of pollen, what was going on both in the temperature of the planet and what was there at times in the algal layers that they're able to study. And it's really useful because it is a renewable resource. It can use non-arable land to grow it, like all the brackish water and places that are really not useful farmland. So it's not going to interfere with food production. And it's also, it's really quite useful as a potential food source, because it's nutritionally superb. It has more protein than a whole lot of things. The protein that it contains is complete. It contains all of the 8 essential amino acids that we know we need. And that's, I guess, the benefit of animal proteins. It's really high in omega-3s and has a great potential as a superfood. And it's already being used in the green drinks, which I confess are not my favorite thing on the planet. But it certainly has a lot of potential going forward as a food source. And also potential going forward as a source of biofuel. It has been estimated that 15,000 square miles of algae could in fact create enough fossil fuel to replace all the fossil fuel that's now being used. So it has huge potential that way. And some of the airlines have already started to look at it. KLM is the one that's probably furthest ahead with it. There's downsides because there is carbon release in doing that conversion, and it's expensive. But when you look at it against what happens when you mine for fossil fuels, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I couldn't resist giving you a little bit of science, and just, of course, I had to look at what it looks like under a microscope. And we're back to the electron microscope now, where the colors are of the artist's imagination, and so in fact are the diagrams, really. But they're pretty spectacular when it comes down to it. These are two different kinds, and they, in and of themselves, could be an inspiration, although we haven't used it at this point. So moving on, I guess I've been at this for a while. It was quite a few shows ago that I had this series of silk fluff, which is a double-stranded yarn with a strand of silk and a strand of mohair. And I called that colorway cyanobacter, which is the scientific name for blue-green algae. So it's been a while that I sort of accidentally fell into this. But after we had our New Year's Eve together, I took a look at what I could do going forward. And this is actually, Yuriko talked yesterday, I think it was, about the studio and how we're a bit of a yarn boutique in that we find small quantities from different places. And this started with a merino fingering weight that I bought from a vendor who was going out of that business at last Knit City. So I have a limited quantity of it, but I have double stranded it here with what's its name? Baby Yak Cloud. And this is Baby Yak Cloud, which is alpaca merino yak and silk. And it's really, I had a hard time dyeing it because it's so pretty. I just thought, you know, is this really sacrilege to take this gorgeous yarn and do something with it? But I mean, what are you going to do with box loads of this particular yarn, and it just seemed like it was going to make a great companion for that series. And I did some others. The first one I called Pond Scum Revisited, but I've done a few more. So this is Blue Mussels. This is Blue Jay. This is Elkhorn Coral. And the last one here is Landscape Gold. So I think now we're back to Roz and more Pond Scum inspiration.
All right. You know, what happens is when I fall down a rabbit hole, is that I take it and play with it from an artist standpoint of what else can I do with it. So this became a collection of cashmere that I had that I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do some colors in between the ridges and to accentuate this hat that can also be untied on the top and become a cowl so you can pull it down.
Me. Sorry, I'm listening. I forgot.
That's okay. That's okay. And then this is another one. I had some leftover yarn and I thought it was too much to kind of throw away. So the yarn and I had a conversation and we decided that it should become a hat. And so with that, I went through what I had and pulled out the materials that I could use to make just a pull-on hat out of Pond Scum yarn. So if you look at it, you'll see the blue algae, you'll see the yellow green, you'll see the water, and then back to more algae. And then there's this one. This one was an interesting inspiration of the fact that I bought one of the Koigu pencil sets for knitting. And if anyone doesn't know me, they would know that that was a bad idea because it comes with a pattern and that would require me to follow the pattern, which wasn't going to happen. So my sister, who's good at following the pattern, decided that as a gift, she would knit it for me. And she did, which is the scarf, and I just love it. It's cozy as heck. And sent me back the leftover yarn balls. Well, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to take that and kind of bend it towards algae? So I pond scummed the hat. And as you can see, I've got the Koigu in there mixed in with some additional yellow green in order to make it look more like pond scum. And of course, when you Google on the internet the word pond scum, you are looking at a product from a company called Pond Scum Ceramists, or ceramics is what it is. And so I got this because my dentist recently put a crown on and I got it to give to him.
All right. Oops, what are we doing here? Did I miss one? I did. Okay. So just while we're on kind of the new yarns, the new limited edition boutique yarns, I recently had the opportunity to buy Cornelia Tuttle Hamilton, Tuttle Hamilton, yeah.
Tuttle Hamilton.
Yes. She's actually selling off she's moving and she was selling off her entire online store and moving on to other things. And one of the things that she had on offer was a limited number of skeins. These are hand spun from the cocoon silk. And I don't know where the spinning was done, but it's clearly very hand spun. Roz and I have both kind of had a close-up look at this, and it's lovely and kind of slubby and thick and thin, and it's just really kind of a special yarn. So again, I'm thinking, what am I going to do to make this lovely? And so I started out dyeing this one, and I call it Ruby, and it kind of led me down the path of looking at other possible gemstones for this series. So there are, in fact, going to be 5 in the series. So there'll be Ruby, Amethyst, Emerald, Sapphire, and Topaz. So, and of course, you know, being me, I needed to kind of go down that rabbit hole a bit as well. And I did discover that climate change is going to make gemstones more scarce because the things that form them on a number of levels are not going to happen. And maybe this is not a bad thing because the mining of gemstones is a very bad thing. And there's definitely a lot of stuff happening now to make them in labs. And people, I think, may embrace that. Some may not. But that is kind of how gemstones fit into that whole picture. Anyway, the yarn, again, I'm pairing it with that gorgeous baby yak cloud. And this is it dyed on its own to go with that yarn. And so here they are side by side. And then here is the finished double stranded. And it works out to about a DK weight when the two strands are together. The silk is kind of on the heavy side of fingering, and then this just makes it up to something that works out to about a DK weight. And then I'm just going to give you a quick peek at the amethyst because that's the only other one that we've done at this point, and here it is as well. So there'll be a series of 5 of those, and I think they're really nice, and I'm gearing up for Fibres West for that. And I'm getting on pretty well with them. Have the other 3 done within the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. Sorry. Okay. So again, going back a bit, just sort of how the work progresses. And some of you may remember it was probably 2 shows or maybe even 3 ago that I featured the rainbow minis and talked a bunch about rainbows. And Marianne, our wonderful studio volunteer, took the kit and knitted this lovely shawl. Pincha shawl is the pattern, which is on Ravelry. And you can tell that this was back during COVID, as evidenced by the mask that Marianne is wearing. And then I had always planned to do some weaving with this. That was kind of one of my reasons for doing it, but I just hadn't quite got it together, didn't really know for sure what I was going to do. And then something else happened, and I will stop sharing my screen for a minute, and maybe Yuiko can do magic and spotlight Marianne for us, and she can tell us what happened next to inspire my work. Is there a way to do that? There she is. Okay, so tell us, Marianne.
So I enjoyed working with that boucle so much. And I thought, well, then in the meanwhile, Roz had written a pattern called the Simple Sweater. And I thought, and I knit that, and that was fun to knit. And I thought, maybe I can combine these things. So I ended up doing making it into a cardigan. And I decided to double up on the boucle. And it's just, I cannot tell you how squishy this is, and just feels nice. It's light to wear. And as I said in a previous show, I wanted a garment that would feature the sleeves, right? So I had the minis and just going through the different minis, and this sweater's knit from cuff to cuff. So you could, see how it's progressing as you go along, right? And if the color doesn't work beside another one, rip it out, put in a new one. So that's basically my side of the story.
And you used the big kid, the bigger boucle for the body of it, right?
For the body, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the minis, double strand.
Of the bébé. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this is slightly different, but I had a bigger skein of it, so I could do the front and the back.
Yeah, the back is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Anyway, it had not occurred to me up to that point to double strand the bébé because I had the big kid, which in fact works out, I thought, to much the same thing. One is twice as heavy as the other, and they're both boucle. But when I saw that sweater of Marianne's and I felt those sleeves, and I saw how much plusher the double strand of bébé was than the single strand of big kid, I thought, okay, this is really what I need to do now. And I'm just going to go back to my screen share here.
Thank you, Marianne.
Share screen. Where are we? Here. Have we got it back?
We are back.
Okay, excellent. I have little faith here. Okay. Oh, what's happening? Huh. It's not advancing for me. I may have to go back out for a second. No, that's not working either. Okay, I'm going to stop share for a second. And I'm just going to go here. Here. And here. That's not full screen now, is it?
Nope.
Okay. What did I do before? Nope. What's it? Okay, let's try this again. No. Sorry, I don't know how I managed to lose that.
Okay, Ross, entertain people.
Entertain people? Okay, I'll try to be well behaved.
Okay, I think I
So-
maybe lost
You
everything.
got it?
Let's,
Uh-oh, you
no,
lost
I don't know
everything.
what
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
let's see. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm sure I'm going to be okay here. But I wonder how I managed to fix this before.
No, don't ask me. I'm a digital dinosaur.
Okay.
No, you're not, Ross.
I work with a bunch of 30-year-olds. I'm a digital dinosaur.
All right. I wonder if I'm going to have to go out and close this whole thing out. Oops, lost my Zoom again. There we go.
There should be a slideshow button that will take you to full screen somewhere.
Okay, I'm okay. There, I know where I found full screen, but I can't, it's stuck on me now. That's my problem. I can't get at it. Doesn't want to do its thing. Okay. So this is my screen and I want to do, maybe I want to go here.
Okay, Ross, Monica says that hat looks like irises along the pond. There we go. We see something.
Thank
Well,
you.
you see something, but again, I'm not seeming to be able to get it.
You're
so
full
that I-
screen.
I know it's full screen, but I have no way to operate it.
Eureka, do you still have screen share? And are you locking it in any way?
No, she's not.
I'm
watching.
not.
She didn't
Okay.
watch it. Don't let's accuse Eureka. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see what happened. Why is it not wanting?
Blame Eureka for everything. It
No, I
works.
just was, it was a question of clarification.
Okay, we're
Yes.
gonna try this.
Yes.
Okay,
That's-
Eureka, your morning joke. What do
Okay,
you
my
call the
morning
wa-
job. Okay.
What do you call the wife of a hippie?
I don't know.
Mrs.
is it?
Hippie.
Oh, okay, this is how it works. That shows for us. Usually, roles distract bored husband with that jokes, so that wives can enjoy shopping in our booth, and it often works out very well.
Yeah. I have a long list of bad jokes I got from my water aerobics class at the Y that I share with the men who go, oh God, another yarn show. And I'm here with her. Why did I think this?
Okay, let's try this now. Slideshow settings, full screen. We're good on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to go back into the Zoom. And
Okay.
I'm just going to get to the slide that I'm supposedly on at this moment, if I can. Okay, and now we'll try. It says I'm screen sharing. Is this true?
Yep.
It is.
Okay, so have you got rainbow minis?
Yep.
Yes.
Which
And
is
it's
not full
full-
screen.
It's not full screen.
You
Well,
know what? Let's keep going
just
like
go.
this.
Let's keep
Can we?
going. Like this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can do this. Ah, okay. So in the meantime, after Marianne had demonstrated the wonders of double-stranded bebe, I went to a lecture at Knit City last fall. And one of the things that the presenter was talking about was, she was even, might have been calling it fractal knitting. That's what sticks in my mind, but I can't remember whether I've exactly got that right or not. But she talked about having multiple strands of a fine yarn and then gradually switching them out to get a gradation. And so I thought, that has possibilities. But in weaving, it might present a bit of a challenge, but here I'm now double stranding. So I decided that I would use that technique. So usually when I've done a gradient in weaving, I've done, I'll do say red, 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 yellow, red, red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, and sort of done it by counting it to get that gradation. But this time I did it so that all I used was a double strand of the solid color and then a strand that was one strand of that color and one strand of the next color, and then moving on to the next color. So it's double stranded. Some of them are two colors, some of them are a single color held together. And I'll just show you the next slide so that you can get a sense of how that gradation actually works. And I used double strand in the warp, but single strand black in the weft because I didn't want to lose the colors of the rainbow. And I just love the texture of that. Honestly, if I didn't have, if I wasn't also such a lover of the multi-yarn warps and then pulling it together with a weft, I'd be doing a lot more of this because using that that plushness in a throw is a wonderful thing. Okay, so moving on, where are we here? So again, going back in time and into my stash, this is a yarn that I bought many years ago, probably more like 20 years ago from Great Yarns in Everett. It was back in the years when I wasn't actually doing my own dyeing. And so I was on the lookout for any, I was using mostly brushed mohair at the time. I hadn't discovered how much I really loved the boucle. And so I was buying up brushed mohair wherever I could find it. And this happened to come stranded with this eyelash yarn, which is on one side a plain white, and then you can probably see the little sparklies on the other side. I don't know why I'm not getting an arrow, but I'm not. Anyway, it's actually pretty ugly, I think, in and of itself. And that's why it sat there for all the years. And then in the fall, I guess it was, my friend Trudy, with whom I've done a lot of weaving, both here and in Sweden, came over and we were sort of looking at my stash and she pulled this out and we both looked at it and I thought, you know, I've really got to do something with this yarn. So when I got going on that, whoops, we're not gonna move, are we? What's happening here now? Now it's not moving. So we'll do it this way. And you've got my raw click to title stuff and everything here. Well, we'll live with it. So these are, let's go back to the James Webb Telescope, which was my inspiration for the Cosmic Cobwebs series. And the images keep coming out day after day, and they provide so much inspiration. And at the time I did Cosmic Cobwebs, I delved a bit into the science, but as these images keep coming, it becomes much more of a, I don't know, what's the word, spiritual experience, I guess, as I look at those images. And so when I realized that what we're seeing now in real time and in real color is what actually happened billions of light years ago, like billions of years ago, because it's now, these places are billions of light years away. And so I find it really difficult to get my head around all of this stuff. No one knows what happened when the Big Bang happened, and all of it is just still so mysterious and so beautiful and so incredible that I've kind of stepped out of the science and decided to do other things here. So this is a close-up of the weaving that I did using this yarn. I put it in with a plum-colored weft that you can maybe see there, plum-colored bébé weft, single-stranded this time, and then a mixed warp where I added in a lot more white and some of the pinks that come out of some of those images. And just come down here a bit further. And so this is actually the piece when you see it from a distance. And I actually had it in a show, a gallery show, a members gallery show up here on the Sunshine Coast recently through January. And I called this piece Firmament, and it kind of does feed into that whole where it becomes more of a sort of spiritual thing for me. And I thought of that piece from Hamlet's soliloquy, and just to it's that brave o'erhanging firmament, and in that soliloquy it's this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire. And it's that kind of feeling that those images now start to conjure up for me. And so that was how I came to do this piece and put it into the show. Now, let's see what else we have here. I'm coming back to this, partly because lichen is another one. Lichen and algae, lichen is in fact half algae, and lichen it covers 8% of the surface of the planet, and it's an incredible carbon sink. And again, it's going to be endangered because as climate changes, it takes about 1 million years for algae to adjust to a 1 degree Celsius. And so this is something that, or rather lichen to adapt. Algae actually adapts a little bit more quickly. So we're probably going to see maybe different kinds of lichens, and definitely different lichens in different kinds of geographical areas, but it's going to change. And so I've been working with one that is in my area, Loberia pulmonaria, that blows down where there is a mixed forest with a lot of maple trees. And it's an amazing bellwether of clean air. And I'm so grateful to live in a place where I'm still able to get that lichen. I'm just showing this because I have some very limited edition, 6, I think, specifically, sets of this, which are 100% llama, and they're 50-gram skeins. So it's 250 grams and $90. The price tag is wrong on this one because I was using 25-gram skeins at the time, but we now are into 50-gram skeins, and there are 6 sets left of those. And then what else do I have? One last thing to share with you, and it's ice dyeing. Again, this year, I decided to go there. And living here where we live on the West Coast, it's interesting because we can pretty much rely on the fact that we might get a cold snap, maybe not cold enough to do this, but we know that it's also not going to last very long. It's going to thaw pretty quickly. So this year I decided to do cellulose dyeing. Last year I did it with wool and with mohair, and it worked out really well for me. But what I've done here, I started on, actually it was January the 11th when our cold snap here really started in earnest. And I knew it was coming. I was watching the forecast really carefully so I would know when to do this. So I put my cellulose yarns into soda ash soak on the 11th of January and put them out to freeze. And by about the 12th of January, they were frozen about as hard as they're going to get. The soda ash soak at pH 11 and with salt too in the mix, it was really hard to get it really hard, but it was enough that it was going to take some time to melt. And the same thing, I made the little color cubes in little tiny plastic cups so that they were also frozen hard. So it was going to be a case of really slow release here as the temperature melted. And it took a long time, actually. It was a surprisingly long cold snap for us. And so it was really a couple of weeks that it was sitting outside in these bowls before it was actually fully melted. And I really enjoyed watching that process. I didn't know what it would do because doing it in really cold instead of in rather warmer temperatures and then letting it sit, I wasn't sure what would happen. But because of the slow release, it was really, I got some areas of really strong color, and I got some areas that really hadn't taken any dye at all. But by the time it had all melted, I was able then to just kind of mix the dye in with all the others. So I got a nice range of the dark color blended with the more pale shades of the same colors. And it's still kind of in the washing process because I'm not wanting to do anything. I'm trying not to use really any source of electricity or power to do this whole process. And so I'm doing what I can as the weather warms up a bit and as I can stand dealing with it in cold water on the deck and dealing with that. So I really am trying to roll with what the climate is dishing out for us. And I may not be able to do this every year, but I had fun this time. And I think that's kind of it for us, Roz.
Yeah.
What else do we have? You've got a bundle of something there. I'll come out of this sharing.
My chin rest. It's my chin rest.
Your chin rest. Okay.
Yes.
I see
is my
pond
chin
scum.
rest.
Yeah.
You know, when I was cleaning out and found pond scum, I found a few other ones that I had gotten at Stitches. And so I've over dyed them to give them a new life, because sometimes the old colors just don't talk to you like they would 15 years later. So I've gone ahead and done some over dye work just to give them something a little friskier. Yeah, but the rest you've already seen in the pictures. Yeah. Yeah, that was great, Penny. I so appreciate the science behind what we do, as someone else mentioned in the chat, because it's where it got us to where we are. And it often points to where we're going, potentially.
Well, for me, it's very much at this point pointing to where I'm going. I feel a real responsibility to kind of use my work to learn more and create more awareness about our world and what's happening in it. And then I guess I think of how Barbara, our studio partner, tapestry weaver of renown, really fabulous weaver, who does a lot of political work where she is shining a light on some of the horrors of things that the human race is doing across the planet. And then she opts out and does gorgeous things like flowers, landscapes.
Want me to show the flower? Want me to grab the flower?
Oh, you can if you like. Yeah.
Sure.
And so I kind of see that the Webb telescope is that for me. I can kind of go there when I want to feel kind of uplifted. And then, I'm sort of, it's interesting now to look at the algae on the oceans, because I was starting to look at, okay, I've been up, and we know actually a lot more up. I'll finish afterwards. This is Roz's, you commissioned that one, right?
Yes, I commissioned Barbara to do a sunflower. The sunflower is among my top 3 favorites, dahlias being one of the others, and I haven't yet categorized the third one. But this is a sunflower that she did for me based on a picture taken against my garage wall in the backyard.
And in case you're wondering which color that is, it would be the purple.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess what I was going to say is that, after I had done the Cosmic Cobweb series, I thought, okay, we actually do, in science, we know a lot more about the world above us than the world below us. So I started looking at the oceans, and I was gathering really interesting images of ocean life. But then I thought, it's lovely, but maybe I want to be a little bit more meaningful. And so now finding the algae and finding NASA's experiments, and we'll see what comes out of that. But that's kind of, I guess, where I'm going. How about you, Roz? Where are you going?
Where am I going? That's always a good question. I am enjoying finding unusual things and dyeing the colors, because for years I got lost in flowers. Don't get me wrong, they're beautiful. And I got lost in mountain scenes and all that, and they are gorgeous. But I wanted to give some attention to things that we don't necessarily look at and go, isn't that pretty? And maybe giving them a new perspective to make them pretty, make us rethink things, which I think we need to do at many levels.
That's funny. I was thinking this morning, I think too much, but I was thinking this morning that dyeing yarn gives us the opportunity to really interpret. If
Yes.
you're going to not reproduce, that's not the word, but say paint something. And you're working, you need a really nice image. But I think when we dye yarn, we can pick from anywhere. We can use
Yep.
anything as our concept.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things that I was looking at, where I work, I had pulled up and parked, and this was a tree. And I laughed about it and I said, it's a tree with its arms up waving at me wearing a necklace and a belt. And really what it is the, different algae and types of funguses that have grown on the tree and the way it's structured. So I looked at it and I said, that would be really fun. The green and kind of an off-white and varying shades of green would be fun to do.
Looking forward to seeing you do your off-white.
I know. Yeah, because I have to put color on everything. I have to tell myself that the natural white will be okay. I can live with this.
So Eureka, that's what we're up to.
Awesome. I have to chime in what Rod said about finding the beauty in anything, right? Like, yeah, flower is kind of easy because they're beautiful to look at. And if you came to the PJ party on Friday, you probably saw me. I chose the picture of asphalt with yellow lane line as my inspiration source for the collaboration with Gary, because I like that kind of spiritual meaning to his lace. Like all the writers kind of rely on that line, thinking that that line will take them to the goal line.
Yep.
Yeah. So people may think like, why did you choose that picture while there are so many beautiful pictures, he had, but I thought that's pretty stunning in a way. And also asphalt could be beautiful if you look at in the eyes, in different eyes. So
right, different
and
perspective.
I have to thank you guys, Rose, Penny, Barbara, and Helen. I'm so fortunate to be a part of the studio. We kind of bounce ideas with each other all the time, and sometimes bring my idea to a completely different place. And that's so much fun always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's why, the communication that goes with it. I took, for those of you who know me, I have always been kind of a non-traditional dyer, knitter kind of person. And I knit with a person who's 94, very set in her ways, and another person in her 60s who's a retired engineer. They look at my knitting and go completely insane. They want the logic behind it, which there is none. It's Ra's logic. So what I did is I brought in some skeins of yarn and I allowed them to pull together 3 different colors that they thought would work, and I would knit a poncho. So I'm doing that and it's killing me because I keep finding other colors I want to add, but I made a commitment to the challenge. And so I'm knitting consistently with the same yarns all the way through this poncho. Otherwise, if I change and do something I want, I will never hear the end of it.
Yeah, challenges are good.
Yep,
yes,
they are.
Always.
Yeah. So, yes.
Okay. Is there any question from anybody?
Any comments or suggestions for future projects? Now that we've asked you to step out of, routine things, can you think of something that you don't find attractive, and how can you make it attractive? Can you share it with us?
Hi, I was thinking of some of the derelict buildings,
Ooh.
and the colors on them. I think they can become quite attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, Linda.
And we have a fiber artist on the coast, Connie Chapman, who works a lot from images of rusty walls and rusty metal, and, those colors, and does amazing things.
Wow. Yeah.
Had one. Garbage is ugly because we don't want it, except it's often filled with the things that we once thought were beautiful. So every once in a while you'll catch a picture of a garbage dump or just litter that doesn't belong. And so you guys do a great job of making things that we sometimes think is bad, but bringing attention to it. And just the fact that we mix our lives into this. And sometimes, I mean, you can do it in a proper way. So there's like a recycling center and that kind of thing where you can go and pick up things that belong to somebody else. And those mixtures of other people's lives are pretty. But then when something's decided that it's over, there's still lots of beauty there, from an image and a colorway, because nothing is selected. But as far as then you get to talk about, now we've turned a pile of garbage into something beautiful. Definitely. Because there'll be, because all of these plastic things we make that will last forever, and fibers that, because we don't recycle fibers properly. I just heard the story about the clothing dumps in South America, like the acres and acres of fast fashion that wind up plowed into the desert. There was a anyway, it was mind-boggling. I had no idea. So our fiber work, if we're reclaiming and keeping, like, because again, stashes are often considered bad, but I actually feel like it's part of my keeping things from being defined as garbage and finding a new way to use it, even if it's not fashionable. And over dyeing is one of those things, right, where you can make the colorways more present. And then, yeah, nothing gets old that way and everything has potential. But then you also wind up in a house like mine where nothing ever leaves. So, you know, but we all know that feeling. But anyway, but maybe because garbage immediately is like the ugliest thing I can think of, but then probably has some great images that are pretty too. So
that is a great idea. Really great idea. I know I've got a list of friends who are going to come in and go through my stash for me, so that my niece doesn't send it on to some place that doesn't deserves higher order.
Yeah, that's what guilds are for too.
Yeah.
I've noticed this year though, a lot of people are actually using stash. I think, for a number of reasons. One, I mean, well, some of us are using stash so that we don't have other people coming in to go through our stuff and disposing of it in ways that we don't want. But I think also people just want to use their stash, especially, I mean, we all have lovely things that we're waiting to do something special with. Like, when's that day going to come, right? We need to kind of those things. But I also think people are being a little bit more economical, because I'm finding that we have more people coming into the studio now who are working on something, and they're looking for something to go with it, to kind of, do something with it, rather than just coming in with a brand new project and buying a whole pile of yarn. So I think stashes are really coming into their own.
Yep. I agree. Especially when you go back through them and you go, oh, I forgot how lovely that was. Or, oh, great texture, needs a better color. That color went out a while ago. Yeah.
Or oops, should have used that before the moths got it.
Yeah. I didn't know I was serving dinner. Any other questions? You guys have brought up some excellent points, and I'm definitely going to be taking a look at some of those images and see what colors I can pull. Definitely.
And in case you are wondering, nothing Penny and Rose showed today are not available on our Etsy shop. So if you have to have some of them, just contact us and we arrange it.
Yeah.
And we do actually do lots of it. Like, quite often people just like phone us or email us, message us somehow, and like, I'm looking for something like this and that. Do you have something like that? And we take pictures and send it, and like, and they pick one or two and we ship them. So we are very different from local yarn shop. I don't know how we should categorize them. Like we always, I had the discussion with Knit City people. They ask us always, like, they have kind of badges for vendors, and they want to categorize the local yarn shop, dyers, artists. Like I ask Fiona all the time, like, who are we? Like, what are we? She says, you're all of them, but none of them. So like we cannot be categorized, obviously.
Yeah, I hope people are okay with us just sort of sharing stuff rather than putting stuff out there for you to use. I mean, like, just for going forward, is that an
Yeah.
okay presentation?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got a few eyebrow raises at the pajama party when I referred to this as the TED Talk for knitters and weavers and dyers.
That's a little too overwhelming.
Okay.
It's a
I
teach-
found it very inspiring and
Exactly.
unfortunately I missed Friday night, but I will look it up on and watch it.
Yeah, that was a good talk, actually. You'll
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Oh,
I
he
didn't
was
get
good.
home until 7, so that's
Yeah.
why I missed it. But
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's worth going back and listening to. He has such a great perspective.
And also, we can't go without saying thank you to Marianne, who winds the yarn and knits the
Yep.
thing, and does all the
Knit
stuff.
samples
Yeah.
for us. I mean, she's
Yeah.
phenomenal. All right. Well,
Okay,
Penny, thank you.
I'm done.
I'm done. And
I'm gonna put my mute on.
uh-oh.